Welcome to SoVT Book Talk. I am Amber Roberts. I'm filling in as host this month for Karen Simpson-McVicker while she is off traveling and working on writing some new projects. I'm excited to be here with Paige Vignola from the Manchester Community Library and Vermont author Rachel Lacey. So Rachel Lacey is a contemporary romance author and semi-reformed travel junkie. She's been climbed by a monkey on a mountain in Japan, gone scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef, and camped out overnight in New York City for a chance to be an extra in a movie. These days, the majority of her adventures take place on the pages of the books she writes. She lives in the mountains of Vermont with her family and a variety of rescue pets. Her latest release is Learning Curves. It's described as a will they, won't they romance about a bright young teacher reconnecting with the jaded professor she once pined for. So thank you, Rachel, for joining us on SoVT Book Talk today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Can I ask a totally unrelated question to
Yeah,
your book?
absolutely.
What movie were you waiting to be an extra for?
Oh, so it's called Music of the Heart with Meryl Streep and Angela Bassett and Gloria Estefan. I am a big fan of Gloria's. So like when she was in a movie, some friends of mine and we went and we camped out, all night. We're in the Carnegie Hall scene.
Oh, that's amazing.
There's like a big orchestral concert at Carnegie Hall. And I'm in the audience.
Oh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Okay,
If you really squint, you might see the top of my head somewhere out there, but it was a really, really cool experience. So,
excellent.
Yeah.
I know we're supposed to be talking about books, but that just totally intrigued me. I couldn't help. I had to ask.
No, I wanted to ask too. So.
Fun. Highly recommend being an extra.
Sounds like fun. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what Learning Curves is about, just kind of in your own words?
Okay. So it is a sapphic romance that's actually, I think maybe you already mentioned, set right here in southern Vermont. And it's actually,
I wish North Shire University existed. Let me tell you, I wanted to be on that campus so bad.
Well, isn't that the whole thing about writing books is we can create the place we would like to be, right? So it's set here in southern Vermont. It's set during the fall, which is, arguably the best season here, of course. We've got lots of foliage and all the cozy vibes that I'm here for as a reader and as a writer. So the book is about Audrey, who is a brand new professor who's just been hired at her first full-time teaching position, and she's going to be teaching at her alma mater, the college that she attended. And she's really excited about it, and she's also excited to find out that the professor who was her undergrad advisor and also the subject of her teacher crush and who inspired her to become a professor herself is still teaching there. So she's really excited that they can reconnect, and this time they'll be colleagues and maybe they can even be friends. But when she arrives at her new job, she is pretty upset to realize that the woman she remembers as being this really passionate, enthusiastic professor who inspired her so much is now kind of bitter and grumpy, and no one in the department likes her. And so, of course, Audrey is then curious about what happened and why she's changed. And as they get to know each other again, Audrey kind of discovers that her old crush is still alive. So that's the basic setup of the book. There's also a lot of art. They're both art history professors. And Audrey in particular teaches a women in art class, which I found so fascinating to do all the research for and uncover all these female artists that, I was unfamiliar with, that I really loved bringing all that to
I was
life.
actually wondering about that. Do you have a background in art yourself? Because, you
no.
were so very focused on the various different types of art and development of art and teaching.
I went down a whole rabbit hole, as you can tell. No, I don't have a background in it at all. This book required definitely the most research of anything that I've written. It all started right after I had kind of pitched the concept to my editor, and I went on the website for our local university, which was Castleton University at the time. Now it's Vermont State University. And I just started browsing their art history classes, and I saw a class called Women in Art, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. And actually, I really can't name very many women artists. So yeah, I went down a whole rabbit hole with the research, and it was really fun.
Where did you start researching? Did you plan to include pottery, for example, in the book?
So when I first started writing about the two art history professors, I kind of knew that like I wanted one of them to be, you know, an artist of some sort. And my editor had suggested, oh, you know, could you do like maybe like a sexy, messy painting scene? And I was like, at the time I had just finished writing a book, The View from the Top, where one of the characters is a painter. And I was like, I don't really want to write another painter back to back. So I was like, what else can I do? And I was like, ooh, what about a pottery wheel? Those could be fun. And then, of course, like, we all think of that one scene from Ghost. And, but make it sapphic. And
you even reference Ghost in there. They know that they're doing the Ghost scene. They're totally aware.
I didn't have that in there at first, and my critique partner was like, Rachel, you really have to just like name drop Ghost right in there. Like, go for it. And so, yeah, that was where that came. And then I went and took a pottery wheel class, and it was all really fun.
One of the things that I found really intriguing about the story is sort of like the development and the analysis of becoming disillusioned with the thing that you love, right? And I wonder if you could maybe talk about that a little bit, because that was just a phenomenal character arc of this is the inspiring teacher who creates a love of art and the love of teaching in her students, who has become so disillusioned with the profession, with the administrative aspects of her work. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about that.
That happens to a lot of us, right? When you've been in the same career for a while, and like, you know, whatever you had romanticized about it when you were dreaming of that as your career, and then, you know, even when you're starting out, everything's like new and shiny and exciting, and then like the longer you're there, sometimes it's just the specific like place where you are, your specific employer or whatever, but like, you know, oftentimes things just don't turn out quite the way you expected. I actually went through a little bit of that as an author with my in the first few years of my career, where it just like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff was just really like disillusioning, and like it's often the case, right? And then, you know, I made some changes, and here I am, you know, more passionate about it than ever. But I just think it's like, it's a really relatable arc, no matter what it is that you're passionate about, that you've become disillusioned about. I just think it's something that a lot of us have been through. And that's what I try to do with a lot of my characters, is even, you know, I might be writing about like one of the most famous celebrities in the world, but like the things she struggles with at home are like just the same fears and things that we all have. And I just think like at our core, we can all relate to those things.
Semi-relatedly, one of the things I find that you do so well in all of your books is you write communication between your characters so incredibly well. And I think some of that comes from your characters knowing who they are and being who they are. But I was also wondering what goes into your process so that you can write this communication so well between these characters.
Yeah, and I know it's not always like, I know in real life, a lot of us are terrible communicators, right? Like, but it's something that kind of frustrates me as a reader sometimes, like the miscommunication when people are just like not saying stuff, and I'm just sitting there holding the book, and I'm like, just you know, talk it out, people. You know, I don't know. I feel like the older I get, I just really want to write characters that kind of reflect like a more, like, I'm older and some of my characters are older, and I just feel like we should have a little bit of like a more mature like worldview. And I do write some characters who, you know, are not good at communicating. In particular, one of the heroines of my next book, Margin of Error, like, not that she's not good at communicating, but she's just like, she has a lot of fears, and she has a tendency to kind of like run from things that she doesn't want to face and not talk it out. So I also love to pair a character like that with a character who really wants to talk it out and let them, you know, help each other work through stuff. So I've done that a few times too.
I love an opposites pairing.
Yeah.
Kind of, whether it's like opposite communication or opposite likes or, you know, I really love that kind of pairing.
So on the idea of characters though, so when you started your book, do you know who the people are? Do you learn who they are? Do they teach you who they are? Do you already have kind of like a map sort of planned out? How does that work?
I usually think I know who they are. I know like their, you know, their strengths and weaknesses, what they're afraid of, what their goals are. And then sometimes that'll change a little bit as I get to know them on the page. But then a lot of their individual little like quirks kind of come out while I'm writing. Like maybe I had an idea that Michelle in Learning Curves would drink tea, but like it just kind of like took on a whole life of its own over the course of the book. This afternoon tea at her desk, and she was bringing in all these, and like she starts having afternoon tea with Audrey, and then she started like bringing in some of her like tea collection from home, and they would share a different blend every day, and it became like a whole thing, and I didn't really anticipate that ahead of time.
I love when characters kind of have a mind of their own.
Yeah. Or sometimes something that you thought was going to be key to them, once you start writing, you're like, that doesn't feel right. And I don't think they would actually do that.
Did you know what Michelle's career shift was going to be, or did she teach that to you?
I did. I
Okay.
did know what it was going to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to say too much about that.
Right.
I was curious if that was something that she's like, oh, no, this is what we're doing, or if you had that
I try
plan.
to know like where they're going to end up when I start writing, so that I can, although sometimes I don't know like every step of the way, but I try to have an idea of like what the big hurdles are, and like what their character arc is going to be, and how they're going to grow over the course of the book.
Can we talk about how your settings in Learning Curves and in The View from the Top are very similar to maybe a certain area that we're sitting in right now?
Yeah.
And where your inspiration came from for your settings?
It is. Honestly, it's kind of it's more of a rare thing for me as an author to get to write a book that's set where I live. I moved here 3 years ago from North Carolina, and I had written some books in North Carolina, but it had just happened that for a few years I had written several books in a whole series set in Manhattan, and I had written some celebrity books that were kind of off in Hollywood and on tour and stuff, and I hadn't written a book set where I lived in a while. And I've also never lived somewhere that's like a tourist destination, or somewhere where people would like read the back of the book and be like, ooh, Vermont. Because I mean, everybody has this like romanticized idea of Vermont. Maybe they don't know about all the bugs and the mud and, but like, but it's an incredibly beautiful place. And there's something about being able to like walk out my back door and just like get that visual inspiration for the setting while I'm writing it. It's a really fun and inspiring thing.
I am a sucker for books set in Vermont. So
Yeah.
I live here and I still can't get enough.
Although I get like cautious when I read books set in Vermont by authors who don't live in Vermont, because I'm like, are they gonna know? Like,
I have to say, I know this is a very small detail about the book, but I love the way you write Michelle's cat. And I know that sounds so silly because it's so small, but the fact that Audrey's like, no, you just don't understand cats. It's not that, this is not the attitude that you think that it is. And I loved actually kind of watching the development of that sort of proxy relationship, right?
I am a cat person and a dog person, but I have 2 cats, and I've always had cats. And I just thought it would be really fun to write this woman who's never had a cat before, who ends up like stuck with her ex-wife's cat, and like she thinks the cat hates her because she just doesn't understand cats.
Well, and there's so much projection going on there too, right? I mean, like there's a deeper psychological level to the way that she's viewing the cat, viewing her, which of course, again, anybody who has a cat, it's like, okay, yeah, no, I know you're in charge, I get it, but so
yeah,
I did enjoy that.
I really enjoyed writing that part of the story as well.
I have one question about tropes and themes. I always have to ask about tropes and themes. I want to know what your favorite tropes are to write and what your favorite tropes are to read.
Okay. Oh. Because interestingly, they're not exactly the same, because there are some tropes that I love that I just don't think I'm like the best at writing. Some of my favorite tropes to write are Grumpy Sunshine. I enjoy a good celebrity romance. Opposites Attract is kind of like in there with the Grumpy Sunshine, but yeah, and fake dating. I'm always a fan of the fake dating. There's just something about like,
it's like the Hallmark exclusive, isn't it? The fake dating trope.
Like when they're like putting on a show for people, but then it's like, and they're both kind of thinking like, oh, well, they're only, looking at me like that because people are watching, or, I love that. Can't get enough of it. And one of my favorite tropes for reading is Ice Queen. I love a good Ice Queen, but I think my characters always end up being like too nice. And I really can't write. I can write like a sort of frosty character, like Michelle in Learning Curves is not so much frosty as she's just like, she's very reserved and she's very unhappy. And she comes across as kind of frosty, but like when you're in her head, you kind of get a better idea of what she's thinking. And yeah, that's about as frosty as I can go.
I didn't get frosty from her at all. I mean, I can definitely see like externally how that might present, but the fact that she is so ridden with self-doubt is, I mean, that's the shield that she puts up. I thought,
yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about what's next for you? We've got your next release here. So if you want to tell us about that, and then maybe what you're working on now, if you can share.
Okay. So my next release is Margin of Error, which is there on the table. It is a second book set in the same world as Learning Curves. So we're back at the university. This time we're here for winter in Vermont. And this book, it's a very emotional book. It's about starting over. One of my characters in the prologue has an accident where she almost dies. And it's one of those things where like she's kind of laying there thinking that she's dying and realizing that she's going to die before she ever really like found the courage to live her life the way she wanted to. So when the book starts, it's 2 years later, and we meet her. She's made a lot of changes in her life. She has left her husband. She has left her old job. She's starting a new career as a college professor. And she is very excited to do something that she's been thinking about for 20 years, which is to date a woman. And so this book is about coming out. It's about starting over. Got winter in Vermont, only one bed, and a rescue puppy.
All my favorite things.
I had a new puppy at home while I was writing the book, so like I was like, well, I mean, she's just gonna have to have a puppy as well.
And what is the release date for Margin of Error?
February 3rd.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that comes out pretty soon.
All right.
Yeah.
So we like to take it out with a little game. It's called Last Now Next, where we talk about the last book we read, what we're reading now, and what we plan to read next. So if you would like to play our little game with us, would you like to go first?
I love to talk about books.
This is the fun part,
I am a huge reader, and I love to shout about queer books. So one of the last books that I read, one thing to know about me is that during the month of October, I tend to binge all the spooky books. Give me all the ghosts and monsters and, horror and everything that I don't usually read so much. So a book that I really loved is called They Came From Below by Elle Dreamer. And it's pitched as a horror comedy, and it really was.
That's a great combo. Okay.
Yeah, it felt to me like the book version of like some of those like classic horror films, like Tremors or whatever, where the concept is kind of ridiculous, and it's not really taking itself too seriously, but it's just you get like this band of really lovable characters that you're rooting for. And in this case, we're set in this, it's a contemporary book set in this small town whose claim to fame is that I think it was about 50 years ago, there was a mine collapse and all the miners were trapped inside. And so in present day, there's like this horrible storm and there's sort of like a mudslide and it opens up the old mine shaft. And these zombie-like creatures come out and start attacking the town. And so it's a little bit like over the top, but it's also, and it's, it's scary and kind of gory and just.
It's kind of giving Scooby-Doo though, the way you're describing it too. Well, the band of lovable misfits and the mystery and the mine opens up and
But it's really fun. It's a really good time. So that is my last.
What about now?
Now, so I have just started the third book in a series, and I brought along a copy. I have the first book in the series, which is called The Songbird by Stacy Lynn Miller. And this series takes place during World War II. And the main character is a woman named Hattie James, and she is a singer, a popular singer. hence the songbird. And as the story opens, her father has been accused of being a spy for the Nazis. And so Hattie is then ostracized from her career, and she loses her contract. And about the same time, the FBI come, like, wanting her to do some undercover stuff to help find her father and find out what's going on with all this, you know, Nazi stuff. And she ends up going down to Rio, which I thought, her mother is Brazilian, and I thought it was a really, like, fascinating peek at, like, I had never really thought about what it was like in other countries or South America or whatever during World War II. So Hattie and her her male best friend, who poses as her boyfriend, she's actually a closeted lesbian in the 50s, which is, you know. So they go to Rio, and she kind of rejuvenates a little bit of a singing career down there while reconnecting with her mother, and also doing all this undercover work to try to find her father and to uncover, you know, all this Nazi espionage stuff. And it turns out that she's actually really good at the undercover work because she spent so much of her life, like, hiding who she is and presenting a veneer to the world. So it's full of, you know, intrigue and suspense and murder and Nazis, and there's a little bit of romance, and it's really good. I'm, like, totally sucked into the series, so I'm excited to find out how it ends.
Do you know what you're going to read next, or have you not gotten that far yet?
Next. So, next, I think it's about time to start reading some holiday romances, because I try to wait till after Thanksgiving, and then all bets are off, like, giving all the holiday stuff. So there's 2 books that I wanted to mention that are at the top of my list. One is called Cabin Clause by Frankie Fire, and it's about these 2 women who wind up sharing the same cabin. I think one of them owns it and one of them has maybe, like, rented it or something. There's a clause, which is, like, a double entendre, right? Because, like, so there's only one bed or only one cabin, and there's a rescue pup, or I'm not sure if it's a rescue pup, but there's a cute pup on the cover, and I'm always a sucker for a cute pet in a book. And the other book that I'm really excited about is called I'll Be Gone for Christmas by Georgia K. Boone. And it's like a holiday house swap kind of situation.
Oh, okay.
These 2 women who are both really fed up with their lives sign up on some sort of house swap website and go to each other's place for Christmas. So I think there's actually going to be 2 romances in that one, because we're going to follow each of them as they're in this, like, you know, in each other's worlds for the holidays. So that just feels like all the makings of, like, a cozy holiday rom-com to me.
Yeah.
Right?
It does, absolutely, yeah.
That one's going straight to my TBR, I think.
Yeah.
What about you, Paige?
So the last book that I read was V.E. Schwab's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, which I had kind of sworn off vampire lit for a while there. I thought probably about 10
read that
years.
one as well.
So good. So good. And I was reading it and listening to it simultaneously, which I don't normally do because I usually hate audiobooks. And it's not because of, you know, like being, I don't know, stuck up about reading versus listening. It's usually just because the narrator to me doesn't sound the way that the book sounds in my head. And so therefore, like, I start listening to it. I loved the narrators. I thought they were fabulous, different voices for the different characters, different actresses for the different vampires. The way that the vampire lore was kind of molded around in order to be able to, I mean, it's not, you know, your standard Dracula. I mean, there was everything about it.
It was
I
really
loved the relationships. I mean, there was nothing about it that I didn't enjoy. So that was my last read. Again, both reading it and listening to it because I couldn't stop reading it, and I had to drive a lot in the, you know, the last month. And I'm like, well, I'm not putting the book down, so I'm going to have to listen to it. So that was my last one. And being that it got me hooked back into vampire lit, I went back. So now I'm currently rereading The Discovery of Witches, which I absolutely love. I've read that, well, I guess the 3 books. I read those 3 books probably about 3 times each, but now there's a new one coming out, so I figured I might as well reread them. And, you know, so I'm on that kick at the moment because Deborah Harkness is fantastic and a great researcher and obviously knows what she's talking about. I mean, she's a historian, so, like, she literally knows what she's talking about when she's doing the research and the Bodleian and all the rest of that. So I really kind of, I gig on that one a little bit. And my next book is one that I am planning on listening to, even though I don't normally like audiobooks. But it was recommended to me by a friend who said that I absolutely had to, and it's called The Harder I Fight, The More I Love You, and it's Nico Case's biography. And she narrates her own biography. And I'm just like, okay, so if she's going to narrate her own biography, why would I not listen to her? Because then I know that it's going to be exactly the voice that it's meant to be, with all the emotion and all the everything that should be on the page is now in addition, in your ears. So that's my next.
Nice. If you're looking for more vampire books, by the way, Sunsets and Other Dangerous Things by Danny Frank.
Okay.
It is a sunshine vampire who is trying to fit into the real world and pretending to be a college student. And it's very, very aware of the fact that it is very Twilight coded.
I was gonna say, because that, and Twilight is the reason why I stopped reading vampire lit. So I mean, I'm just like, oh, I don't know about that.
I think it is very worth the read. It's very aware of what it is.
Okay.
And it's wink, wink, nudge, nudge the whole time.
Okay.
Like it's in on the joke.
Okay.
So highly recommended. Yeah. My last was Isn't It Obvious by Rachel Lacey, and it's a school librarian who has a secret podcast and is having a hard time juggling all the podcast and teacher librarian life things. So she hires a producer to help with the podcast distribution and editing and all of that, and they keep it completely anonymous. They talk only via email. They don't know who each other is. And it turns out they know each other in real life, and they hate each other in real life.
My favorite
yes.
There you go, another favorite trope.
You've got mail.
I wrote a book like that.
Yeah. It's so good. It's there's a whole lot of just like, will they, won't they, and as they start falling for each other via email, things are heating up in real life too, and then are they going to find out who each other is? It's very stressful in the best way. I loved every second of it. It was so good. I am currently doing Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldry. I'm actually listening to the audiobook of this one. The author narrated the audiobook, which is why I had to listen to the audiobook. And it's great. He does all the voices. He's got all of the characterizations down. It's so fun to listen to. It's very cozy fantasy. I read Legends and Lattes and loved it. So I kind of wanted to be back in that world. It's the prequel for Legends and Lattes, so it's the same character, Viv, before Viv ends up starting a coffee shop. So very, very good, very entertaining. And I've been on a cozy fantasy kick lately, so I picked this one up. This will be my next. Can't spell treason without T. It's
I love that title. Oh my goodness.
I got hearing about that one.
I got it because of the title, but also sprayed edges. Couldn't not.
Yeah.
It's a draw. It's definitely a draw.
Yeah.
So
It's so pretty.
It's very pretty. It's very pretty. It looks good on my shelf, and it just looks good when I carry it around. But also, I'm excited to be in those cozy vibes. There's people trying to just live their little cozy after adventuring lives, and their evil queens getting in the way, and trying to thwart their plans of a cozy happily ever after. So looking forward to getting into that one. I think I'm going to carry the cozy vibes through November, and then maybe in December I'll start with the holiday romances. But for now, I'm all about the cozy fantasy. So
Excellent.
yeah. Well, thank you very much for playing our little game with us and for chatting with us on SoVT Book Talk.
This has been so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
So Paige, what do we have going on at the Manchester Community Library?
Well, we're getting into holiday season, so we've got a variety of different holiday events taking place. First would be on November 29th, which is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We have our annual Taconic String Quartet holiday concert, and so that concert is going to take place at 2 o'clock at the library. And we're doing something a little different this year. We are creating companion programs so that people who have younger children who maybe want to attend and are like, well, I can't bring my kid to a concert. Hey, guess what? You can, because you can bring your kid to the library and drop them off with Carson. Our youth services librarian is going to be doing all kinds of programming for these events, these companion programs. So during the Taconic Thanksgiving concert, there is going to be a drop-in craft, which is a build a Christmas tree out of whatever material materials you want. So, I mean, it could be Legos, it could be popsicle sticks, it could be paper, it could be pipe cleaners. Totally don't. It could be all of them. It could be corks. Doesn't matter, right? So it's going to be that kind of drop-in craft. And then one of our biggest events of the year really is we do our winter bazaar, and it's the first Saturday of December, and so that's December 6th. And this year I have no fewer than like 35 different vendors, local vendors. They're artists, artisans, weavers, fiber artists. I think I've got pottery this year, jewelry makers, all different, children's clothing designers, like all types of things. And they're going to be at the library from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. for our annual Winter Bazaar. I think this is the 4th year running that we've done this. And the timing on that is perfect. So you come in, you do a little bit of holiday shopping, and then you can go out and watch a tractor parade, because the tractor parade starts at 5 o'clock on that Saturday. So definitely recommend that one. We also have a couple of different events that are taking place on the following Saturday, which is December 13th. So at 10:30 in the morning, our librarian Carrie likes to do what she calls the the sounds and sweets of the season. And we have a couple of local student musicians who come in and like play keyboards and sing holiday songs with kids. And the library staff bakes a variety of different cookies, so we make various different cookie packets of all different flavors and hand them out. And so that's just kind of a general good time. And then we're doing this year, that same day, a holiday wrapping party. So if you have gifts that you need to get wrapped, we're going to have wrapping stations in the big hunter room there. And again, companion programming. So if you have little kids, and it's hard to wrap presents when your kids are like, hey mom, what are you doing? Hey mom. So send them off into the children's room, and Carson's got activities going for the little ones while you can get some of your holiday wrapping done. So that's from 2 to 4 p.m. on the 13th. We also have our Taconic New Year's concert, the family concert that's going to be taking place, and that is the Saturday, so what is that, the 30th? Oops, I probably should have looked up the date before I started telling you that, but the Taconic New Year's concert, which is another one of our favorite annual events. So that's what we got going on. Closed for Thanksgiving and the day after, and closed Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
But, all right.
Yeah, so.
All right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those events with us. And thank you for joining us for this segment of SoVT Book Talk. We will see you next time.